Hello and welcome from Digital Studios at Cape Town Conversations 2024. My name is Julia de Klerk-Zachse. I'm a senior visiting fellow with the German Marshall Fund of the United States, and I will be moderating today's debate on war, peace, and AI, reimagining 21st century security and defense. Now, AI is revolutionizing all aspects of our lives, including security and defense. And of course, with that come both opportunities and risks and challenges. And it is clear that we need regulation and international governance to ensure that the use of AI lives up to the standards of human security and human rights. And I am very pleased to be joined here today to discuss these issues with Paruyr Abrahamyan, who's the CEO of Zeel, and also with Emmanuel Reinert, who's the CEO of RainCloud. If I could kick off with you, Paruyr, to tell us a little bit how AI can enhance defense and security in your sector, and what kind of safeguards you think are needed to ensure both civilian privacy and, of course, also human rights.
Look, AI has been building capabilities, giving new opportunities for the different armies. It's been a while already. It's just over the few years, last years, it became more intense. And much more players are in the market. Regarding to capabilities, the end users, let's say, they get unlimited opportunities of reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, operational awareness, better understanding of the battlefield. AI-driven softwares today can help the armies to detect, like efficiently detect, track, and hit precisely the targets, saving a lot of resources and doing it cheaply, like way cheaper than it was before, and having way better communication, saving time. So basically, it's digitalizing the armies, which has its pros and cons, as you can imagine. But it brings a big burden on the civilian and the humanitarian aspects because it's uncontrolled. It's very kind of catch. You want to use it, like you want to use these capabilities because it's cheap, it's unregulated, it gives you unlimited power. And but there is a small group of countries, or there was until recently, that had this privilege. So now these capabilities can be developed anywhere in smaller countries, even non-state actors, which makes the international cooperation even harder and, to my opinion, impossible to have international framework or accountability or supervision of this. So it's close to its essence to weapon, like regulation, international regulation on weapons of mass destruction or conventions, UN conventions on certain conventional weapons. But it's hard to track, hard to supervise. When I'm saying hard, I'm very kind with my words because basically impossible. Because the international conjuncture, the international geopolitics, it's at a moment in its stage where there is no cooperation rather than its competition. The world is more competitive, more heated, and a lot interests are even more, and no new players coming, new ambitions. So international order is basically ruined, and it brings its consequences also on the regulation of technologies, including on AI. So of course there is a need of rule of conduct of wars when you want to protect civilians or minimize the collateral damage. So it can be done, but practically in the wars, as we can see in many areas of on the map, it's practically impossible to control, whether it's Middle East, Russia, Ukraine, or elsewhere. So temptation is big. You're solving with those capabilities bigger objectives, bigger problems for you with smaller resources than you used to do it before. So the frameworks and the regulations can be discussed, but international agreement on this, on having or supervising bodies, making those end users transparent, accountable, it's basically impossible.
So you've painted for us a very nice picture in terms of what are the opportunities there, in terms of efficiency, in terms of also budgetary implications, but you seem to be incredibly bleak in terms of the possibilities for regulation, and you have shown us some of the great dangers, of course, that come with a technology that, again, as you said, is really rapidly developing and sometimes much faster than even the people who are regulating or who even know about it. And of course, there's a big difference now between, you made the parallel to weapons of mass destruction, but in terms of accountability lines and so on, in that it is autonomously employed. So since you sound so bleak about any international frameworks and regulation, and I'm going to come to you on that as well, Emmanuel, do you think, is then the role, the onus really on the private sector to kind of self-regulate and make sure these technologies don't go out of control and don't cause more harm?
I don't want to seem pessimistic, but it's already gone out of control. It's already there. Now the question is to bring it under control. It's already gone out of control. So. And it gives, as I said, when it's about weapons of mass destruction, there is an elite club of several countries who are capable of producing this kind of technology. But in AI, basically any country, any non-state actor can have this capability. And we've seen different terrorist organizations even using high-tech, very advanced softwares hitting their targets precisely, that you see like you're fighting with a well-armed and formed, trained and organized armed group, which is almost an army, unofficial army. So bring those guys to table to regulate. So you cannot regulate yourself, but not regulate for the counterpart.
Emmanuel, a technology that's already gone out of control as it's still in its infancy. Do you agree? And what are your perspectives from where you are?
Well, there are several things to say. It's true that the genie is out of the bottle already, and it will be very difficult to put it back, if not impossible, because we are in a domain where to have the upper moral ground is not necessarily a synonym of having the upper end of the outcome of the war. It puts you at risk of you being defeated by your enemies, which doesn't share those moral grounds. So that's where we are now. I think that there is many application of AI in the defense sector. But the one which has attracted the most attention is a lethal autonomous weapon system. And there is a global consensus that full autonomy those should be forbidden. That should be heavily regulated and forbidden. And there are bilateral talks between the US and China because there are two main actors. It's going on. The last one was in Geneva this year. But of course, there is a high level of distrust between those two countries. Distrust is what is called strategic ambiguity. The Chinese want absolutely those kind of weapons to be totally outlawed. And they want to convince the American to build a consensus about that on an international level. But of course, the Americans think that while if they stop the development of such weapon, or if they don't actually display those weapons because they already exist, the Chinese will do it anyhow, but secretly. So there is this kind of ambiguity which is really stalling all the negotiation at the international level, at the government level. There is at the UN level there is a committee working on the laws on the lethal autonomous weapon system. but it's not making any progress. So there is a lot of talks, but nothing is happening because there is a stalemate between the main players. Nevertheless, there's been a number of initiatives which are happening. First of all, there's a lot of guidelines, regulation at a national level. The DoD, the UK MOD, and other countries has come with their own guidelines on how to regulate AI, how to promote and foster responsible AI within their own processes and systems, procurement system, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a base to build something out of that, and there is a Dutch initiative, which is the a global initiative for responsible AI in the military domain, that has been launched, I think, a couple of years ago, and so which bring all together a number of actors involved in that conversation. And it's non-governmental. It's run by, it involves government, but it's not within the UN organization or OECD or any of those traditional bodies. It is making progress in at least defining what we're talking about, because AI is a complex in nature, but also the conduct of war right now is complex in nature as well. There is a number of things which are affected by AI, and so you have to clarify the concept, etc. And they're making progress about that. I think the last meeting was in September in Korea, and they come with a proposal that might come to the UN as a resolution. It's been led by the defense minister of Kenya, with the support of the Netherlands and South Korea. And so they're promoting responsible AI, which is, of course, a first step, trying to not put the genie back in the bottle, but at least, making sure that the genie is not, messing around too much. So that's for the regulatory aspect. So there are kind of hope that things will happen, but we are in a very different situation that with other international treaties, such as the one limiting the use or forbidding the use of certain weapons, like anti-personnel mines, cluster munition, blinding laser. There's a number of treaties because, state and government will comply with those treaties because it doesn't have a big impact on who is going to win the war or not. If you do the same, it's not possible to do the same with AI because that's a term which has been coined by two of our advisors, General John Allen and Amir Hussain. We're going into a hyper war, which means that a war where AI make involving and keeping human decision in the loop a risk to be defeated. So you have to leave the AI makes a decision. If you don't do so, your enemy will do, and they will be faster than you, and they will defeat you. So that's the challenge we are facing.
That's a huge challenge, and of course, once you let the AI make the decision, lines of accountability and responsibility become almost impossible. And therefore, we get into huge problems in terms of international law, international accountability, and so on. I just wanted to follow up a little bit because you've mentioned some of the national initiatives that are there, both government-driven and non-government-driven. You alluded to the UN. There's, of course, also in the context of NATO, some initiatives. You said a lot of debate so far. Difficult to come to action. It seems to me that AI it poses us with this conundrum in that, everyone who's been here in Cape Town at our conference, we've been discussing global instability and the growth of global instability and basically the bigger and bigger problems in terms of regulating any kind of international issues. And so for AI to kind of explode in this domain of security and defense at the moment of global instability that we are facing, it seems to be a very problematic moment to actually get effective regulation and cooperation. Do you see any hope?
Well, if I may make a remark on what you just said concerning the conversation that we heard today and yesterday, is that actually the recent conflict didn't need AI to escalate and to provoke and to come with atrocities and human rights violation and violation of the law of wars. So so far AI has not been involved in that, and we're doing pretty bad already. So there might be a hope that AI, because it accelerates velocity and it raises the stake, it might avoid those kind of war of attrition, which come with escalation and more atrocities and more human rights violation and more deaths of civilians, etc. So there is a glimpse of hopes in that regard. I may take a kind of a paradoxical example. Speaking of autonomous weapon system, so you know that, and Ukraine has been an incredible laboratory for this. Now drones are really making a big difference on the battlefield because they are cheap, because they are AI driven, and because they can be operated in swarms and extremely volatile and extremely quick. So if you have a drone attack on the battlefield on conventional soldiers, there is no chance that they can resist. So they need weapons which are AI-driven to be able to defeat those drones attacks. So that's basically is going to be a turret operated by AI, where AI do the targeting and the shooting. The soldier just have to push the green button or the red button. That's it. The rest goes like this. So this is typically an autonomous weapon system. It is, normally there is a consensus that they should be forbidden, but in that case, it's saving the life of the soldier. Without them, soldier will be killed. So those systems exist already. They're already operating. That's but we want to make them impossible to use when it comes to human targeting. So that's
how do you do that? How do you make it impossible to use?
And that's why it's so difficult, because they are using for a good objective when it's to protect soldiers on the battlefield. So it's very difficult to limit their use when it comes to human targets and civilian targets or precise targets. And one other aspect of the use of AI is targeting that we've seen in recent conflicts. So of course, AI is also a way to analyze and use a vast stream of data coming from a different source, cell phone usage, conversation, social media usage, etc., to identify targets and then to automatize the shooting of targets. So that can be used, of course, that can be proved extremely useful when you fight terrorism activities, etc. But where is the limit? When the state which is operating those devices is not necessarily democratic or governed by the rule of law. So that's what we're facing, and eventually there are also other use of AI which allow to how can I say that, to put together and to process all kind of information coming from various type of sensors, radars, satellite, etc. So one can absolutely see everything which is happening on the battlefield. So the battlefield is becoming too dangerous for humans. So the battlefield will be only filled with machines. The reason why it's interesting to mention that is that means that, and that's similar to what you said earlier, more and more there might be a disconnect between the GDP of one country, or the size of the population of one country, and their ability of being disruptive in a conflict.
Yeah.
Because you can operate with machines. You don't need a lot of soldiers.
Yeah. Where is the limit? I think this debate is in many ways limitless, and we've only kind of hit the tip of the iceberg. We focused only on one area really as well of AI use. There are, of course, many, many others. I'm afraid our debate time is at our limit. But thank you both so much. I think what we've seen, even in this very, very short exchange, is that we see a future where potentially we would have fully automated warfare, and as you just said, where the size of a country or an army or all of these things do no longer matter, but it's really the technological edge that you do have. What I take from this as well is that while there are some opportunities, there are also big, big risks, and especially in this current global environment, risks that will be more and more difficult to regulate, and to get the genie back into the bottle, as you've both referred to. So this will certainly be one of the issues that we will continue to be talking a lot about, both, I think, in the private sector and in business debates as well, and governance. It's certainly one of the areas as well that will bring increasingly those two together. Thank you so much to both of you for being here today. And that's all from Cape Town Conversations for now. Thank you.